There are kisses that a man never forgets, not because they were passionate, but because they reached a place where almost no one else ventures, the subconscious. Most people believe that kissing is solely about attraction or chemistry, but what if I told you there are 7 specific locations on the male body that, when kissed with purpose, establish such a deep connection that he simply cannot forget you? This isn't about excessive seduction. This is about touching something that most people overlook, his emotional mind. Based on concepts inspired by Kung, there are subtle forms of contact that activate what he himself cannot explain. The desire to be with you, the feeling of security, a memory that doesn't fade. Today, I'll reveal 7 places where a kiss marks not just the skin, but the masculine heart as well. And believe me, some of them will astonish you. Most people don't realize it, but there exists a type of kiss that penetrates the body and directly touches the masculine subconscious. A kiss that doesn't need to be witnessed or announced for its presence to be felt. The truth is that certain parts of the male body carry much more than just skin and muscle. They hold layers of tension, memories, and a longing for care. And among these parts, few are as overlooked as the nape of the neck. At the nape, he feels even when he's not watching. And perhaps it's precisely because of this that the gesture is so powerful. The absence of sight intensifies the meaning of the touch. When you kiss there, you reach him on a level that consciousness doesn't block. He doesn't expect it, doesn't prepare for it, but feels it. And this feeling in this context allows something genuine to penetrate all defenses. Many men live as if they need to be constantly in control. They observe, plan, protect, decide. The world demands this of them, but the kiss on the nape comes from the opposite place. It's a silent gesture that asks nothing, demands no response, and demonstrates nothing. It simply exists. And it's precisely in this existence that he might truly relax for the first time. From a psychological perspective inspired by Carl Jung, everything that comes from outside the visual field makes direct contact with the unconscious. The nape, being a blind area of the body, becomes a portal to guarded emotions. It's the opposite of what is planned. It's what is felt. And thus kisses there activate something primitive and emotional, touching memories he doesn't even know he possesses. They awaken the sensation of maternal care, loving touch, silent belonging, that there with you he can simply exist. And it's not about intensity. The kiss on the nape isn't about obsession or explicit seduction. It's about presence. A presence so profound that time seems slower. A gentle kiss, almost whispered on his skin, manages to say more than words. You don't need to capture him. You need to be close enough for him to feel the warmth of your breath, the moist touch of your lips, the tranquility of your gesture. When this happens, you communicate something very rare, that he can lower his guard, that with you he doesn't need to be invincible, that he doesn't need to be on constant alert. And it's this sensation that creates a lasting emotional memory. Perhaps he won't remember the date, the clothes you were wearing, or the music that was playing, but he'll remember the feeling the kiss left, that slight shiver that ran down his back, that unexpected comfort that made him want to stop time for a few seconds. And this is, ultimately, what every man secretly desires. Someone who touches him not out of obligation, but out of love. Someone who doesn't pressure him to be something, but who sees him exactly as he is. A woman who kisses a man on the nape with intention and lightness is saying without words, "I'm here, I see you. You don't need to be perfect, just be yourself." A follower wrote something that perfectly captured this feeling. "I always wanted to kiss there, but never knew why. Now I understand. It's the place where he disarms without realizing it. And that's exactly it. It's not about the place itself, but about what that place represents. The end of masks, the beginning of surrender. If you're with him in a relaxed moment, perhaps cooking together, or he's distracted looking at his phone, and you approach gently touching your lips to the base of his neck, right in the middle of the nape, you're not just kissing, you're creating a bond. You're saying, I chose to see you even when you're not trying to show yourself. And this has more value than any memorized phrase or grandiose gesture. Deep down, every person desires a space where they can be themselves. The man who feels that silent kiss on the nape begins, without knowing why, to want to be closer. Not because you did something explosive, but because you touched him authentically. And this authenticity remains. This is what echoes in his thoughts when he's alone. This is what returns to him in the silence of his room, in traffic, in the middle of a difficult day. The kiss on the nape is simple, but it's in its simplicity that truth resides. He doesn't need to see to feel, and you don't need to explain to transform something. Therein lies the beauty of this gesture. It's small, but speaks volumes. It's silent, but unforgettable. It's invisible, but touches the most intimate depths. The inner arm is one of those places that almost no one pays attention to. It's there, constantly exposed, yet protected, discreet, almost forgotten. But it's precisely this apparent insignificance that makes it one of the emotionally most powerful places for a kiss. Because unlike the more obvious areas, this space between the bicep and forearm carries a silent symbolism that speaks about who the man is and to whom he draws near. Have you ever noticed how a man instinctively protects this area? How he naturally keeps his arms closed when he's tense or insecure? This isn't coincidence. There, in the inner part of the arms, are the veins that carry blood from the heart to the rest of the body. It's where biological and emotional vulnerability intertwine. And when you kiss this place gently and intentionally, you're not just offering affection, you're crossing a barrier. You're saying without words, I see your strength, but I also respect your sensitivity. This gesture, though small, has immense symbolic weight. It touches the masculine unconscious in a way he may never have experienced. As if for a moment he didn't need to prove anything. As if his body understood that there with you he can simply be, without defenses, without character, without the pressure of always performing. And this activates something profound, because according to Carl Jung, we all carry archetypes, universal images that shape our feelings and behaviors. And in every man exists the warrior archetype, the one who fights, protects, and conquers. But there also exists the lover archetype, the one who desires to be welcomed, recognized, and accepted. Kissing the inner part of the masculine arm unconsciously activates this second archetype. It balances what he was trained to hide with what deep down he most needs to experience. It's interesting to observe how such a gesture resonates. Many women in the comments said it had never occurred to them to kiss there. Some even mentioned a natural impulse, but never understood why. Now they understand. One wrote, I always found that part beautiful, but thought it didn't make sense to show affection there. Today I realize it was where I most wanted to touch him, where I most needed to touch him. And it's not about intensity, it's about presence. It's about that kiss that doesn't happen in the heat of passion, but in the heat of intimacy. A light kiss, conscious, delivered. A kiss that instead of accelerating the moment silences it, that instead of provoking embraces. Because at this specific point, it's not about the touch itself, but about what the touch represents. It's about saying with the mouth, but without voice, I'm here, I respect your story. I didn't come to demand, I came to care. And the most surprising thing is what happens afterward, because even if he doesn't comment, even if he doesn't say a word about it, that kiss remains. It remains in his bodily, emotional, and even energetic memory. He can continue his day normally, work, talk, get distracted, but at a certain moment, perhaps in the middle of silence, the memory of that kiss returns. And not because it was sensual, but because it was sincere, because it was rare. Often what can touch him most isn't the most striking gesture, but the most unexpected one. The touch where he didn't expect it. The attention where he thought he was invisible. The affection where he was never cared for. That's why he sees you differently, not just as someone he desires, but as someone he trusts. And trust for a man is the gateway to emotional bonding. Perhaps you never noticed. Perhaps this place on the body always seemed irrelevant to you. But now, think about how you feel when someone touches you intentionally in an unexpected place, with love, with delicacy. It's this type of feeling you awaken in him when you kiss this place. And that's why he doesn't forget. Because it's not just a kiss, it's a moment of reconnection with a part of him that the world tries to silence. In many relationships, physical gestures become routine and predictable, but it's precisely these touches outside the script, like a gentle kiss on the inner arm, that reignite the spark of intimacy, that remind both that there's still something unique happening there, something no one else can replace. So next time you're together, don't wait for a grandiose moment. Wait for a true moment. Perhaps he's lying next to you with his arm over his head. Perhaps you're talking and you're close enough to reach that space. Take advantage of that moment, not to seduce, but to offer, to say without haste that he too deserves to be touched with delicacy. And when you do this, observe his reaction. Perhaps a sigh, perhaps a look, perhaps a slight shiver, and even if he says nothing, you'll know, because when the touch is true, the body reacts. And in this small gesture, you're not just offering affection, you're awakening trust, desire, and belonging. If you've made it this far, you probably understand that true love lives in these details. And if you want to continue exploring this more subtle and profound way of connecting with a man, subscribe to the channel. Here, you'll always find content that respects your sensitivity and reminds you of the silent power you carry in the simplest touch. The back, where he carries the world and you provide relief. There exists a part of the masculine body to which almost no one pays attention. It's not conventionally sensual, it's not commonly praised, it's rarely touched with emotional intention, but it's precisely there that one of the greatest silent burdens a man carries is concentrated, his back. The masculine back isn't just muscles and posture. It's a map of everything he endured in silence. It's connected to what he feels he must bear without complaining. There, he stores his frustrations, his fears, the weight of others' expectations, and the demands he places on himself. It's the place where, symbolically, he sustains the world, even when no one notices he's about to collapse. And perhaps it's exactly because of this that a light and unexpected kiss on the back causes such impact, because with this simple gesture, you break the weight. You touch exactly where he believes he needs to be strongest. And without a single word, you say, you don't need to carry everything alone. There's nothing exaggerated about this touch. It's not explicit. It's not seductive in the traditional sense of the word, but it carries immense emotional force. The kiss on the back is a kind of caress that breaks down the barriers of masculine pride. It's a caress that demands nothing, that charges no response, that simply offers relief. Imagine a common moment. He's distracted, perhaps in the kitchen, perhaps getting dressed to go out, and suddenly you approach without warning and kiss his back. Nothing more. A slow, intentional kiss between the shoulder blades or along the spine. The reaction is almost always the same. A brief silence, a sigh, a slight relaxation, as if he said internally, I needed this, and didn't even know it. This type of touch works because it accesses the unconscious. And according to Carl Jung, the collective unconscious is full of symbols we learn to recognize without ever being taught them. The back, for the masculine archetype, represents sustenance, represents the structure that cannot fail. By kissing there, you send a profound signal to his unconscious. He's not alone, he has support, he can rest. In the comments on videos about this subject, many women say they had no idea how much this gesture meant. One wrote, "That part about the back moved me. It's as if someone finally saw me completely." This is the essence of what we're discussing. Kissing the masculine back isn't just affection, it's recognition. It's seeing what he tries to hide, conceal themselves while remaining present. There exists another aspect. The kiss on the back represents a form of affection that occurs beyond sight. He cannot anticipate it, cannot see it approaching, and this makes it more impactful, since he lacks time to don his armor, lacks time to shield himself with jokes or topic changes. He experiences it, purely experiences it. This type of kiss enters emotional memory for a straightforward reason. It reaches the quietest side of man, the one he seldom reveals. It's the kind of gesture that won't be shared with anyone, yet will always be remembered. The back kiss symbolically reminds him that he can exist without purpose, that with you, he doesn't need to be useful, doesn't need to impress, simply needs to be. It's crucial that this touch happens with mindfulness. It shouldn't be mechanical, shouldn't be casual in a distracted sense. What makes this kiss special is precisely the fact of being given with intention, even if silent. You aren't attempting to prove anything, aren't expecting anything in return. You're simply there, present, attentive, caring, without intruding. And perhaps that's exactly why it works so effectively. Because in a world where men learn to always act, always decide, always resist, your back kiss offers exactly the opposite. A pause, a permission, an opportunity to simply breathe, to feel human. This gesture, when repeated with sincerity over time, creates something rare, emotional trust. He begins to realize that there exists a space where he can lower his defenses, that with you he doesn't need to pretend constantly that everything's fine, that he can show his doubts, his fatigue, his silences, and still be loved. And when he feels this, when he truly believes he was seen completely, and not just the parts he proudly displays, something changes. He draws closer, he surrenders, because he feels he finally found someone with whom he can be whole. If you've never tried this, experiment in a simple moment. When he least expects it, approach him. Position your lips between his shoulders and remain there for 2-3 seconds. Nothing more. Say nothing. Just be there. It's precisely in these silent moments that true connection is born. The one that doesn't depend on words, the one that needs no proof, the one that endures even on days when everything seems difficult. If this type of love touches your heart, if you feel you want to learn to love with more truth, more presence, and more depth, stay close, because that's what we discuss. Bonds that aren't just beautiful, they're real. There exists a gesture so small, so delicate, that almost everyone overlooks it, but when it happens, it leaves a mark in a way that cannot be explained with words. It's the kiss on the eyelid. Yes, that silent touch, light, almost imperceptible, but loaded with meanings that go far beyond skin. Because kissing the eyelid is touching where he doesn't see, but where he feels most, in the space between trust and surrender. We live in a culture that teaches men to keep their eyes always open, to be vigilant, alert, strong. A man rarely lowers his guard. He observes, calculates, protects. His eyes don't just serve to see, they're his shield. Therefore, when he closes his eyes in your presence, when he allows that moment of vulnerability, it's because even without saying anything, he's saying everything. And it's exactly in this moment that the eyelid kiss becomes unforgettable. It's a gesture that needs no special context. Sometimes you're beside him in silence after a tiring day. He leans his head, breathes deeply, closes his eyes, and you, in a delicate impulse, touch your lips there without haste, without wanting to impress, just to say with your skin what words cannot reach. I'm here. You can rest with me. And he feels not just the touch, but what comes with it. Peace, surrender, trust, the right to release the world for a few seconds. The power of this kiss lies precisely in its delicacy. It's the contrast that makes it memorable. The world demands so much from him. It seems everything constantly tells him, be prepared, react, conquer, show you can handle it. But when you kiss his eyelid, you do the opposite. You say, here you can let go. Here you don't need to prove anything. This is the emotional contrast that triggers memory. It's the expectation break that creates impact, because he's not accustomed to this type of affection, doesn't expect this type of love. Psychologically, eyelids are a deeply symbolic area. They're naturally the border between external and internal. Closing eyes is an act of disconnection. It's trusting that for a few seconds the external world can wait. When you kiss a man there, you touch this border. You tell his subconscious, it's safe to enter. That's why the kiss remains, because it doesn't just touch skin. It penetrates the surface and goes straight where he most needs to be touched, where he can stop being what's expected and be himself. Such a gesture doesn't happen by chance. It requires presence, attention. It's the type of affection that can only arise from silent listening, from perceiving the right moment, from connecting with his body, not just as something that can be touched, but as something that needs to be understood. Because the eyelid kiss isn't about physical desire, it's about perceiving that sometimes the greatest intimacy lies in silence, and that there are touches that say more than any passionate declaration. It's precisely in this silence that the narrative of this gesture lives. You don't need to say you care, you show it. You don't need to explain that he can trust you, he feels it. The absence of words becomes language, and this language is absorbed by something he cannot control, pure emotion, emotional memory, the type that doesn't fade even when days pass, even when time distances itself. Perhaps he won't remember what you said, but he'll remember the moment when you made him close his eyes and kissed him there. In one of the most touching comments about this, a woman wrote, "It's as if the world stops for an instant when you kiss there. He doesn't see, but feels everything." This phrase carries powerful truth, because kissing the eyelid doesn't need to be seen to be felt, and perhaps that's exactly why it works so well. It flies under the radar of rational thought, goes straight to the emotional area, and it's precisely there that it builds something no technique teaches: true emotional intimacy. In a relationship where love is built in layers, these small gestures maintain depth. It's not the promises, it's the silent acts. It's not intensity, but the constancy of touches. And it's there that the eyelid kiss becomes a symbol, a code between two bodies that understood each other without haste, without performance, just with truth. In a world that demands constant strength from men, you become the place where they can lower their guard. And this place isn't a role you assume, it's a space you create with your touch, your presence, your silent listening. Kissing their eyelids makes you their home in the moment they most need shelter. And when he's alone, in silence, at the end of a difficult day, he might not even know why he misses you, but he will feel it, will remember that sensation of peace that only you can bring. He'll close his eyes and for a second feel the weight of the world disappear again, because you touched where no one touches, because you saw where no one sees, because you loved where almost no one reaches, and this he never forgets. Some touches don't shout, don't announce themselves, they simply exist, delicate but impossible to ignore. And that's exactly what happens when you kiss a man on the side of his waist. This frequently neglected area carries a sensitivity as deep as it is silent. It's not an obvious place, and perhaps that's exactly why it's one of the most effective for awakening what most people never touch: emotional desire. The side of the waist is a frontier zone, neither completely intimate nor completely public. It's a middle ground where the physical meets the emotional. When you touch your lips there, calmly, intentionally, without rush, you're saying something the body immediately understands, even if the mind can't yet process it. You're saying, "I'm here, I feel you, I want to feel you, but I also want you to feel seen." This gesture carries delicate attention. It's not an invasive kiss, nor purely sensual. It's loaded with presence. It's almost like a question that doesn't need to be answered with words. Will you really let me know you? It's precisely in this area that his body tends to tense. Not just from muscles or nerves, but because there symbolically he defends himself, protects his own vulnerability. By kissing him in this part of the body, what you're doing is more than affection. It's a permission, a silent invitation for him to surrender not just to the moment, but to the connection. It's important to realize this body area is directly connected with protective instinct. Biologically, the trunk is where vital organs reside. The waist is the center of balance. Symbolically, Jung spoke of the body as the soul's mirror. So when you touch this area, you're touching more than muscles. You're reaching unconscious layers that connect this gesture with surrender, trust, and even emotional security. And there exists a magic that only this area offers. It balances physical desire with emotional affection. Unlike other body parts directly linked to sex or tenderness, the waist side provokes and welcomes simultaneously. It's the type of touch that says, "I desire you, but also want to care for you." The technique here isn't in doing something complicated, it's in how you execute the gesture. A light kiss, almost whispered by your lips. A pause before continuing. A slow breath, shared. The intention to touch and remain, not just provoke a reaction. When you kiss him there without haste, attentively, his body understands this moment is different. It's not routine, not impulse, it's feeling. And this is the key to deeply touching the masculine subconscious, showing him that with you he can experience something new, even with an old gesture, because what separates a true kiss from any kiss is intention. A follower summarized perfectly when she said, "I thought only intense kisses left marks. Now I realize the most delicate ones stay forever." And she's right, because it's not intensity that marks a heart. It's what remains when everything calms down. At this body point, touch becomes language. You're not just saying with desire, "I want you." You're saying, "I want to be completely with you." And this presence for a man who his whole life was pressured to be strong, to solve everything, to not show emotions, is liberating. This kiss also plays a fundamental role in strengthening emotional bonds. When a man feels you recognize even the parts of him he considers insignificant, he creates with you a bond that transcends attraction. He begins to associate your presence with relief, with unexpected affection, with the possibility of being who he is, without effort. You don't demand that he impress you. You're simply there offering warmth and care in a place he didn't even know he needed. And this gesture creates silent memories. They're the type of memories that surface when he's alone, lying in bed, trying to understand why he misses you. It wasn't the kiss itself, it was the sensation it left. The mixture between shiver and tenderness, the delicacy that came with true presence. The waist kiss is like a secret that stays between you. Something so intimate and delicate that it doesn't need explanation, just needs to be remembered. Don't underestimate this gesture. So it's delicate but profound. It seems small but has enormous emotional weight. It's not about conquering, it's about building. And when you understand this, you stop trying to be unforgettable because you simply become unforgettable. If this resonated with you, if this content opened your eyes to a type of deeper connection, more true and more emotionally intelligent, then it's time to join this community. Here we don't talk about superficial love, we build love that transforms. Subscribe now and experience a relationship that doesn't just leave marks,